Welcome back to Church Production. I'm Marcel Patillo. Recently, we partnered with Saddleback Church in Lake Forest, California, and Renkus-Heinz, a company that's been making professional loudspeakers for over 40 years. And we sent Saddleback Church a stereo pair of their IC Live X speaker system. And this system can be used in many different configurations. It can be used as standalone, it can be used as full range loudspeakers, it can be paired with a subwoofer like Saddleback used, or it can be used in combination with other IC Live X speakers to create a small line array. It is a remarkably flexible system that is great for churches. But before we get into things, give this video a like and let's get to know Scotty Maxwell, a content producer and audio engineer from Saddleback Church.
My name is Scotty Maxwell. I work for Saddleback Church in Lake Forest, California, and I'm one of their content producers. I do a lot of their video work, but I'm also one of their audio engineers.
So Saddleback Church has been around for quite some time, and they have a very large congregation among their 19 campuses. They even have a campus in Hong Kong. So they have a lot of experience holding services in a wide range of permanent and portable venues. So Saddleback may be the perfect church to evaluate a flexible loudspeaker system like the Renkus-Heinz IC Live X.
We had the chance to check out the Renkus-Heinz IC Live X system up in Big Bear this past winter. For this event, they gave us 2 of their 12-inch two-way tops, and then they gave us 2 of their just basic subs, just kind of a speaker on a pull situation. The event was a college ministry retreat for Saddleback Church, so they took a big group of college students up to Big Bear, and throughout the retreat they have some different times of worship, and then in the morning they go and do devotional. So PA was used for a wide variety of things. In the morning, just talking head, basic stuff, iPod, and then at night mixing full band. I believe it was a 10 to 12 piece band, so it was pretty big.
So a 10 to 12 piece band is actually pretty huge, especially for a college ministry. But nevertheless, mixing worship is an art form, especially when you're off campus in a different room than you're used to, or maybe a smaller room that may throw new challenges your way. So we were curious not only what situation they would be in, but also how these loudspeakers would suit them on this retreat.
Yeah, so when mixing worship, we want the mix to feel really full and just surrounding, but we also want to have a lot of clarity in the vocals. So one thing that the boxes did really well is they do fill the room really well, but there's also just a lot of clarity in the top end, and it allowed the vocals to shine through and punch through. And just there was so much just intelligibility and clarity that was able to come out of the vocal mix with really not me trying too hard, which was awesome. And it always feels good when a lot of people are coming up after, they're just like, man, the vocals just sound so good. They're sitting on top of the mix so well. And I think that has a lot to do with the PA.
So if you don't already know, the room you're in can make or break your sound experience. Even this room, it's not that bad of a room, but if I didn't have the furniture and the curtains and the paneling, there'd be a pretty bad echo that you would hear going into this microphone. So I was anxious to hear from Scotty how things turned out with a PA he had never used before in a room he had never mixed in before.
The room was kind of interesting. It was a ballroom up at Arrowhead Resort up by Big Bear, and it was about 120 cap room. The room was set up in rounds, so there was a bunch of round tables with chairs around them. And one interesting thing that we did for the setup was that the room was actually in the round, so we had the vocalists for the band in the middle of the room on a stage in front of the PA, and then the rest of the band was in the back on the actual stage that was set up in the back. And it was cool, and the PA handled it really well. Having the vocals in the front, I think we were worried about maybe some latency or just obviously feedback with the vocals being in front of the PA, but the room allowed us to get them far enough away. Obviously they were on in-ears and stuff, so it made a really cool environment for the room and for all of the people who were attending.
As I said in the beginning, you could add to this pair of speakers to build a bigger system for a bigger church in a bigger room. And again, it could even be built out into a small line array system. And that's where we get into what Scotty was surprised by the most.
One thing about the IC Live X system that really stood out was the footprint. The boxes are pretty small, and they had a pretty small footprint. And obviously, it wasn't a big festival, it wasn't a big stadium where you're just expecting to see a large PA. It was a smaller environment, ballroom, a little bit more intimate. We wanted the audio to just kind of like fade away into the background. So the fact that it had a smaller footprint was great, and also the speakers, like I said, just push out a ton of volume, a ton of power, and so it was really cool to be able to get that amount of power, that amount of volume, that amount of fullness out of a box that was so small and had such a small footprint.
Lastly, we have to get into customer service, because whether you're a big church or a small church, one thing we are all looking for is great customer service. If something goes wrong right before a Sunday or in the middle of the week, you need help. And Saddleback Church actually had a pretty surprising customer service experience with Renkus-Heinz.
One thing specifically that stood out to me about Renkus-Heinz was just their customer service level. We went up to their warehouse out here in California to pick up the speakers, and they were just the nicest, and they had everything all set up for us to be able to just do a demo with the speakers to hear what it would sound like. So I would kind of have in my head as a front of house engineer what it would sound like when we got up to our location up in Big Bear. And it was really great. He gave us a full tour of the warehouse, and just because we had a little bit of extra time, and he showed us the process of how they make all the speakers, which was cool. Right before I mixed on them was, it was cool to be able to see all the back end of how the speakers made and everything. I feel like I knew everything about the boxes before I went out with them.
From this experience, the IC Live X system seems like one of the best options for those churches looking for a combination of portability, high output, high quality with great customer service. So a big thank you to Scotty Maxwell and all of Saddleback Church for giving these a shot and spending a little time with us. So glad that these worked out for you. And make sure to subscribe to the Church Production YouTube channel for videos on audio and video within the church. And make sure to go to churchproduction.com if you want to see new articles and insights on everything church production. And as always, I'm Marcel Patillo, and we'll see you guys next time.